So, Chief, you had an interesting question or just a premise to bring up. What was it? Let the viewers know.
Yeah, I was just sitting there listening to at work. I was listening to Sirius Radio NHL Network, being a hockey whore, and they just were, of course, going on and on about Canada's you know less than stellar exit from the World Juniors.
Mm-hmm.
And before I was walking out of my truck right before I messaged you, and I was like, "Is this a good thing?"
Yeah. It's.
I mean, does this? I mean, it might be good in a bad way for Canada because it might bring to light some glaring deficiencies in, Canada's hockey program.
Right.
That's the first thing I thought.
So, it's an interesting piece, and the reason why I want to make it a video for this question is it really starts a conversation about the growth of the sport of hockey globally. Because Latvia winning that game 20, 30 years ago probably never happens. But the sport's grown. The Czech Republic, back-to-back years, or Czechia, however you want to call it, they won against Canada back-to-back years. And while the Czechs have had amazing Hall of Fame players like Dominik Hasek, Jaromír Jágr, you've continually see that growth of the sport of hockey in various different countries. And obviously Russia hasn't been included in these tournaments since the conflict they're with in Russia, or with Ukraine, with that war. And it kind of showcases to me in a good way that hockey has grown a lot and still has even more room to grow. I think it's great that Canada is just not dominating every single tournament. Now, does Canada have some of the best players in the world? Absolutely. But you're starting to see that big gap start to shrink. And you're starting to see, the United States is starting to develop really good hockey players, all-star, future Hall of Fame level players. So I think, personally, I think it's actually a very good thing that you're starting to see Canada not dominate every single one of these tournaments. For me. And it goes to the question, is it that Canada is starting to slip in quality, or is it that everybody else is catching up? Because I think it's the latter.
I think it's the latter too. You just, as you were saying that, that all came to my mind about, I thought about, remember when the Dream Team in '92 was just smoking everybody on the basketball court?
Yeah.
And in the past 30 plus years, how much that has changed.
Yeah. It's changed. It's changed tremendously in basketball, where usual blowouts by other countries, against the United States, even this last big go-around with them, with the Hall of Fame level players the United States basketball team had, these games were a lot closer. And the EuroLeagues have gotten a lot better. It just shows that with proper training and proper development at young ages, that you can develop some amazing talent in different countries. Now, do I think Canada's always innately going to have an advantage because it's their country sport and it's pretty much what every Canadian grows up playing? Absolutely. It's in their DNA. It's their blood. That's the blood of their country. If it's not oil from Alberta or maple syrup or whatever, their biggest export is hockey players. So for me, will there always be towards the top end of the hockey spectrum? Absolutely. But I think it's fantastic that you're starting to see European countries, all around the world even, that the game has developed so much that Canada is just not cakewalking or dog walking all of these teams and getting easy golds every single year.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the world is starting to catch up. They're not as far in the rear view as they once were.
No, and that's, if you want the sport of hockey to get to a level, I'll just say this, if you want the NHL to be at the level of like the NBA, NFL. It has to grow globally. And
Indeed.
if you can start growing these sports in non-traditional hockey markets, and mind you, some of these European countries have always been passionate hockey countries too. So it's not just Canada. But if you can start developing some smaller countries or even some a little bit warmer countries that produce very good hockey players, it will expand the game. And as a fan of the sport, I love to see it. You know, because it's not even a guarantee. Because I did see this conversation. I mean, they're like, oh, well, the USA is going to win gold now. I mean, that's not necessarily a guarantee. You know, because the United States is going to have to face, I believe it was the Czechs, and then it's going to be Finland versus Sweden. And Finland and Sweden have both become very good producers of hockey talent. And the Czech Republic, you know, I've already mentioned them before. I think parity globally is just good for the game. And I think not... Now, is there a disparity when it comes to the elite levels of the NHL, of how many elite players are Canadian versus other countries? Absolutely. If you look at in that Four Nations tournament of Canada, USA, like the best of the best of each country, yeah, Canada still has a distinct advantage, but I would not be surprised in maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 years where instead of it looking like overload of superstars on one country, it starts to look a little bit more even. So, but yeah, I thought it was an interesting conversation. I think we both agree it's, in the long term of things, is probably a good thing.
It's going to be good for the game. For right now, sucks for Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of going back on that, it might be an indictment of them just saying, well, we're Canada and we're going to just, you know, make a run every time we have a tournament like this.
Yeah.
Which no longer seems to be the case.
Yeah.
And actually, this might be the best thing for Canada right now, as much as you hear all the backlash and all the, you know, crying and caterwauling about, you know, the refs, all this other crap, and it just didn't come down to that. It came down to an undisciplined team. Like everything you said in the last episode,
right,
is 100% true. You know, and then after listening to these guys today, you know, pairing that with what you said yesterday, this is going to force Canada to have to get it together.
Yeah, it's going to have to.
And I mean, they're going to have to rethink how they run this. Yeah. And I think it's going to make them better in the long run.
I don't think that's a crazy statement, because after the USA, I forget which Olympics it was, they got bounced from the tournament. They didn't win gold in basketball. Then they kind of really refocused themselves. And this is under 20. I know this isn't the professionals, but I think it would go to say, I think next tournament they're going to be a little bit more willing to put just the best of the best on their lineup instead of being overly concerned about getting grit and getting a certain type of player. Because, and I'm not going to belabor the point because I've already mentioned it in a couple videos, but Canada left off some glaring omissions on that roster. So I think ultimately going forward, I think it's good to show that the game has grown globally, and this could be a very good wake-up call for Hockey Canada as well.
Oh, 100%.
But that's our thoughts on it, guys. If guys and gals, we'd like to know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Do you believe that Canada losing this tournament could be good for the game overall? Again, Chief, it's been a lot of fun having you on these videos. It makes it a little fun, a little interesting way to do things. So I appreciate you taking the call. And
not a problem, brother. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Oh, man, absolutely, man. We'll be having a No Agenda Hockey podcast, depending on our schedules, probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week, so look out for that. But appreciate if you guys could drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you guys in the next one.